actually wanted to do this kind of video for the longest time because here's a little known fact. We are the very first ones to turbocharge this Civic, the Honda Civic 1.8 FD actually. The first time it came out all the way in 2006. I was one of the first ones who had it. I'm the first one to turbocharge it. And up to now, we're still turbocharging it. So, as the authority on turbocharging the 1.8 Honda, look no further than us. So I'm gonna walk you through exactly how and what comes when you get a turbo setup. The Civic FD actually, FD is the chassis code. It's from the 06 to 2011, 2012. It's cheap enough now that it's a pretty good performance bargain. I think good examples of used ones are around 300 to 350. So far, not super laspag yet in the interior. Engine-wise, it's still pretty okay. We've seen and tuned the stock 1.8, 150,000 kilometers, 200,000 kilometers, still fine, still makes power. But if you are going to be turbocharging or planning to turbocharge your 1.8, we prefer something with either 60 or 60,000 kilometers and below. Anything above that's a little bit iffy. Anything above 100, I will recommend that you do an overhaul first before we go turbocharging. So let's walk you through exactly what happens when you turbocharge a car. Unlike most other cars now where the exhaust is there at the back, the Civic actually has the exhaust facing here at the front, and the turbocharger is connected directly to the exhaust. So this is the exhaust of the car, this is the stock oxygen sensor, the turbocharger is down there, that one there. This whole thing is the turbocharger right there. And there's a single pipe that connects it from the exhaust to the turbo, which actually makes it a lot easier in terms of fabrication. Instead of the old style where you have 4 pipes that goes into one manifold that goes into the turbo. And from the turbo, it gets the air. So that's still the air filter. Air still goes in through there like normal. It goes in here, gets compressed, gets shot out through here. And then there's an intercooler here in front, which is a bit hard to see with this nice FD body kit. So the intercooler's there. So air goes from there, and then goes back up here into the throttle over there. So that's, in a nutshell, I make it sound easy and simple, but that's basically it. Air goes in, gets pumped and compressed, goes back, it gets cooled a little bit, then goes into the engine. This is the blow-off valve over here, the nice shoo sound that everybody likes. So that's there. The mass airflow sensor, in case you're wondering, is here in the straight section. This is the stock mass airflow sensor over there. It's hard to see though. And then how to control everything is that, of course, we always use the unit shift. So this controls both fuel and timing, and its biggest job is to control the 5th injector that goes here. So there's a 5th injector there. Let's shine some light on that sucker so you can see what it is. Yeah. This is what is called a 5th injector setup because there's 4 stock injectors and that's a 5th one. That's a 1000 cc injector that supplies the extra needed fuel once we have boost. You might be wondering why there are 2 unit chips here. This one is a map sensor. So because the stock Civic was never meant to read boost, so this is the one that reads boost, and this is what we reference when we do the extra fueling. So that comes with the whole package and everything. What doesn't come with the package is the change oil and the changing of the spark plugs and the fuel that you're using, because you have to use Blaze from now on if you want to go have a turbocharged car. What's also not included is the full exhaust, which we always, of course, do recommend that you get full exhaust with 2.5-inch piping. The number of mufflers that go out, it doesn't matter. It can be 1, can be 3, 4, 5. It doesn't really matter. So let's go to the back and see what kind of muffler setup we did. So for all you guys who actually like the dual setup, the Type R look here, which is what he has here, I believe it's the FD2, not mistaken. So there's already 2 exhaust outlets here. So again, 1 or 2 mufflers, it doesn't matter, as this is all just for aesthetics. 2 mufflers doesn't mean you'll get twice the power of the exhaust. No, it doesn't work that way. As for power, stock Civics make around 105, 115 to 115, depending if it's a manual or an automatic. Sometimes 120 for the manuals. And when you turbocharge this particular car, we're adding anywhere from 50 to 70 horses. So this one's a manual, so we're starting at 120 horses, and now we're at 180 horses. So we added about 55, 65, no, 25. Man, my math sucks. So we added about a very conservative 55 horses at 7 psi of boost. So we always, well, our personal rule of thumb is that we try not to cross 200 horses because, again, it's not exactly a fresh new car, and this thing already has about 93,000 kilometers on it, so we don't want to stress the engine too much. If it was a newer car or has a lot less mileage, then fine, we can push it a little bit more. But for this one, we're staying below 200, so we're currently at 180. We'll most likely stick to that or just push it a little bit more, maybe 185, 190, but that's pretty much it. Because again, it's more useful as a nice, powerful car than something that'll give you problems later on. So power-wise, you're looking at around 50 to 70 horses-ish with a turbocharged setup. And can you still use this as an everyday car? Absolutely. I don't know where, well, actually I do know where that myth came from, when if you turbocharge a car, you cannot use it as a daily driver anymore, that you always have A problem, B problem, C problem, D problem. Well, actually, all of these problems stem from the fact that you didn't spend enough money to make the setup correct, because, well, back in the day, there's no one shop that does it all. You go to this shop for the turbo, you go to another shop for the exhaust, you go to another shop for the intercooler, you go to another shop for the tuning, and back then there's still no dyno, so you're talking to like 5 different people, and when something goes wrong, you cannot point fingers at exactly where and who went wrong. So that's number one, that's the problem. And number two is that back then, shit, of course, you want to make the pid and everything. So again, what the components I will lay out there, those are everything you need. You cannot tip it this, tip it that, say, oh, can I not have the injector? Can I not have the intercooler? Can I not have the unit chip? Can I not have the blow off? No, all of that has to be there. You cannot pick and choose what you want because you don't have enough money. Again, we're the first people, we're the first shop to turbocharge the 1.8 Civic, and we're still doing it 15 years later. So if you still have a 1.8 Civic lying around and you want to turn it into a toy car, you know where to find us. Okay, we're done with our dyno for our 1.8 turbo Civic, and these are the final results. Let's put this here so I can I'm managed to pull up a completely stock 1.8 manual Civic, and it's the one I have here is 110. So this is a bit on the low end. Yes, I know some cars make 120, some make a little bit more, but this is pretty much the average. If this was an automatic Civic, this would be either 100 or slightly below. So 110 is pretty much what we expect from a manual Civic. So from 110 horse at 6,000 RPM, well 6,500 RPM, our peak power went all the way up to 187. So let's put it at 190. So we got heck 80 horses more. Here, I did say that we're gonna keep it below 190 to the wheel or below 200 to the wheel. So this is it. As you can see here, this is pretty much the same. If you are still concerned about saving fuel with the rising price of fuel nowadays, you can drive below 2,800 RPM and your fuel economy pretty much will still stay the same. As you can see here, boost hits at around this point here. Boost starts at around 2.5 and then kicks up. So at 2.5, you'll feel the boost and then it exponentially shoots up like that and then tapers off towards red line. So this is the entire horsepower graph that we have. Torque also is pretty much the same story. When the boost kicks in at around 2.5, you will suddenly feel a massive surge of torque that goes from 150 to 225 Newton meters right there. So and then it pretty much stays flat all the way until red line.